You're still watching the Wednesday edition of New Dawn, and just like we said before we went on the break, we said we're going to come up with the interview segment. And this morning we're going to be looking at something that has become, a recurrent issue, and so many adjunctions, so many adjustments have been made in the process, but it continues to stay on. We're looking at skills acquisition in view of the nation's education policy. And what do we really mean? Some people feel that we have overemphasized the certificate to the point, to the detriment of skills acquisition. And of course, maybe that was part of the thought of the federal government with its education policy. They've run some of this, skill acquisition in some states just to make quite sure, that, it covers agriculture, covers, some of these areas, just to make sure that, okay, people are well informed and people are able to utilize their skills effectively. To help us look at these issues this morning, and look at it critically, we want to analyze it, we want to kind of dissect it, we want to kind of do a thorough work on the implications, the dimensions, and what are the prospects of skill acquisition in view of the nation's education policy. We have a human capacity developer. Actually, he is the man who has capacity when you see him. Mr. Abeokuta, I'd like to welcome you to New Dawn this morning.
Thank you very much. It's always my pleasure to be here. I've not been here for some time, and anytime OGTV calls,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For having me once again.
And then before we say we are gender insensitive, we have a female entrepreneur in the house, and she's also going to help us because we're talking about skill acquisition, we're talking about entrepreneurship also, of course, when you acquire your skill. So we have somebody, a round peg in a round hole. A fellow Jew ultimate would like to welcome you to New Dawn this morning.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
You have to speak a little louder. I know entrepreneurs and big executives, they don't speak so loud. So you have to, but for the purpose of our own production here, we would like you to pump up the volume.
Okay.
So, all right. Now let's look at skill acquisition, first of all. And I'm going to start with Abeokuta here. What would you say skill acquisition? Is it an educational thing, or is it an innate tendency? Is it something that is inborn, or is it something that you acquire by education?
Yeah, let me start this way. When you talk of education, you have three different types of education.
Okay.
You have what we call the formal education.
Okay.
You have informal education. Yeah. Then thirdly, you have the non-formal education. Okay. Non-formal. The formal education is the certificate education, like we all know. Okay. And then the informal is the one that you get on the street. Okay. You don't go to school to learn that. They say things that Harvard will not teach you.
Okay.
Yeah, those are informal. The ones you get from the house, your parents while growing up. Don't do this, do that. So that is informal. Okay. Then we have the one that we're talking about today. Okay. Is the one we call the non-formal type of education. That's skill development. Okay. And you see, when we say skill development, yes, the people have introduced certificates into skill development, really, but the certificate will not show your skill.
Okay, no.
What shows your skill is what you can do and how good you are with what you're doing. And that is what we call skill development. Now, when we talk of skill development again, we can subdivide that into two. Okay. You have what we call the art skill. You're a carpenter, you know how to knock those woods into places, and then you are a mechanic, you know where the problems are, you know how to remove it, how to fix it back. Those are art skills. Then we have what, again, that people have been avoiding or people have abandoned for long, and that is the soft skill part of it. What's the soft skill part of it?
Okay.
That is the ability to relate, the ability to market what, oh, I can do this. If you sit in one corner, nobody knows that you can do it. Nobody, so you also have to develop the skill of getting people to know what you do, of having the skill to do your calculations, your accounting skills for your business or your vocation in this case, and that is what we call the soft skill. But we were at a forum yesterday with some artisans, and the man said, I have been doing this thing for the past 46 years. Meanwhile, the state government will not come and meet me and get me to do this thing for the state. They rather go to Lagos or Abuja or Sokoto to get people to do it for them. And you now wonder, you say, the problem with you is that people don't know that you are doing it. People don't know how good you are in it. You know, maybe people close to you may know how good you are, but you now have to publicize what you do. You now have to get people to understand what you do and see how good you are in that skill. And that is the soft skill part. The marketing, the record keeping, changing your mindset, because mindset is a skill. There are some people that have a better mindset than others, and you can develop your mindset. So that's a skill on its own. Those are soft skills. The hard skill is there, the soft skill is there. Then again, when we talk of skill, there is need for periodic development. The skill of yesterday is different from the skill of today. That's the truth.
But how far have we gone with the idea of making vocational skills mandatory, for our students? I know we've had meetings. I could recall that in June, federal government partnered with World Bank on skill acquisition. Do you think, are we getting enough results?
Yeah, well, it depends on the way people respond to the call to get the skill. Not everybody will have vocational skill, mind you. Not everybody will become artisans or what have you. But the wiser ones are the ones that, after getting their degrees, they go back. That's if they've not gotten it already. You go back and develop a vocational skill. And that is the pathway to economic development. The problem now is that how do we get our people to see vocational skill as much more rewarding than even the certificate, the formal education or what have you. Many people now, you see students in school maybe reading economics that are into photography. So you can see the mixture of vocational skill and formal skill.
Okay, I'll still come to you on that, but let me take ultimate on. Some people are of the opinion that in Nigeria, we have placed undue emphasis on certificates to the detriment of skill acquisition. That sometimes we, instead of the fact that you have a first class in a subject does not mean that you will be the best in that subject. You could be very good in the theoretical aspect, but when it comes to the practical aspect, which is much more, people are of the opinion that we have placed too much emphasis on certificate acquisition to the detriment of the innate ability of each of the students, and when eventually they turn out, you find out that even the certificate that they acquired, they've not been able to use it because they do not have the inherent interest in that. Do you what's your own opinion?
Yes, I agree that people have placed more emphasis on certificates than skill acquisition. But it's not our fault too, let me say our, because we the youth. So, but I feel like that's why this trainings and entrepreneurial training is actually very important. So we can tell them the importance in skill acquisition. Because for me, skill acquisition is a process on its own. Because it's like a roadmap to your entrepreneurial journey. Like it's just something you have to hold on then before you start your journey. So it's like a big deal. It's a big thing. So, and you need like several things. You need the mindset, like you said. You need the right knowledge. You need several things. So I agree, and that's why we are here, to emphasize on the importance in skill acquisition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Moses.
Well, Mr. Dada, you identified 3 types of education, the formal, informal, and non-formal. Now, talking about formal, the formal education is highly theoretical. Do we have to include vocational skills also? If that is included, then what becomes the technical schools?
Thank you. Very beautiful question, really, because this is, but you see, it depends on your perspective to things. I totally agree with you. I think there must be a separation between the formal educational setting and the non-formal or the vocational skill development educational setting. Why? Because the moment you bring them together, there may be some form of disjoint or confusion between. If you have a school that offers economics, for instance, and under economics you have business enterprise development as a course, are you going to say the school will can really teach on enterprise development? That is, when we talk of enterprise development, really we emphasize more on the soft skill development part of education. So will the university be able to train people? Okay. I will tell you what they do in the US. Like if you're doing an MBA in a good school, and through your MBA, you are not going to sit in school throughout. You are going to go and do what we call an attachment with a business around you that is specialized in the area, your area of interest or your area of specialization. So you go out and do it. So the going out in developing that vocational skill or that soft skill is not the role of the school. It's the role of another platform altogether. And that is why I agree with you that you can't bring the two together. Let the formal educational setting in terms of the universities, even the polytechnics in the real sense of it, let them do the formal, the theoretical and whatever. Then let training centers. In Germany, they have a system called the dual vocational education and training. What's the dual? Dual there means you take formal in a class setting, then you take the practical in a real practical setting where you have hands-on experience. Okay. There is no way the university will give you an hands-on experience. Where they can give you maybe computer knowledge. Even computer knowledge, you still have to go outside, learn the skill very well before you can actually say you have the hard skill experience, so to speak. So there must be a division of the two. Let the university focus on the
but I mean, you talked about polytechnics now. You know, yes, that polytechnic education should be different, from university education, because in polytechnics more of practicals, somewhat, while in universities it's more of theoretical approach. So can we still then categorize both under formal?
Yeah. Let me first make this clarification. I'm not an educationalist. I'm more of an entrepreneur and a human capacity development expert. Now, you see, the polytechnic, the Nigerian educational system, you have the universities, you have the polytechnics, and many people don't know that we have trade centers. Okay. We have, like in Ogun State, we have 8 spread around the state, in Ijebu-Ode, Ilara, in Ayetoro, mentioned them, just here around us here, in Idiaba. Yeah. We have training centers, that's real practical. Those are different from polytechnics. They are different from polytechnics because we have serious practical experiences there. Those are where you have the labs for training. But in polytechnics, there's a combination of theory and practical. And most times, if we want to be sincere with ourselves, polytechnics have also gone theoretical. The only difference is that they do more of technical, formal technical training. Okay. Let me put it that way. the formal technical training are done more in polytechnics than in the universities. But when you see the real technical training, the practical ones, they are meant to be done at the training centers, the technical training centers, the Ogun State Technical Training Centers.
Okay.
I mentioned 8 of them.
That would now take me to this question. You know, earlier on, the people say that the Nigerian government is just paying lip service. It's not really, it's just cosmetic. Because when they had this 6334 system of education, the idea was to encourage vocational aptitude of students,
exactly.
you know, such that by the time he gets to GS3, they look at what he can offer. But you find out that the vocational centers are not as functional as you expect them to be. So they just railroad everyone right from JSS3 to SS1 and SS2, and then eventually they kill some of those students who don't, you know, have the capacity even to go through the other training, who would have done better with their hands, you know. And people are saying, okay, government is not really serious about, you know, all this skill acquisition thing. You are the one that you have to do your work yourself. Do you agree with that perspective?
Well, I won't throw the blame to government. I think it's a societal problem.
How?
It has more to do with our mindset. The mindset of you have to get a formal education or you have to have a certificate. But let me tell you the truth, things are changing now.
Okay.
Like in my own office, I don't employ based on certificates. I have people without certificates that are doing far better than people that would have been graduates or whatever.
Okay.
Because most of what we do are really digital.
But are they remunerated well?
As much as if you come, in fact, I have a case where somebody without a certificate is earning more than somebody with a certificate.
Okay. Yes. By his proficiency?
By our proficiency.
Okay, her proficiency.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. So what are we trying to say? You see, the mindset of the people will determine the direction of policies, really, whether the policy will be successful or not. What is that mindset we're talking about? It's the mindset of you send your child to school, you are not even considering him getting a technical training. Or sending, you were talking about the 6334 system of education. The senior secondary school system is where the technical training comes in. Now, the training centers that you have spread all over Ogun State, 8 of them, that is the public training centers. Then we also have private technical training centers. I have one just behind us at Onijogo, Peter Kiola Foundation. The senior secondary school part of education is meant to take care of that technical training.
Well, are they?
They have, but people are not sending their children there.
Are they supposed, is it not the schools, or is it not, is that not supposed to be a structure? For example, by the time they do the DSS3 exams, by that time you look at the proficiency of each of the students.
In the formal secondary schools, too, in the private public secondary schools, they actually offer technical trainings. Metal work, woodwork, and what have you. But of course, the technical training centers spread around the state, both public and private, also offer those ones, but they lay more emphasis on technical training than the formal theoretical training. But the normal schools, the normal secondary schools and the private, both private and public, we focus more on formal than why? Because like in the private school, they are demand driven. If you have a secondary school, for instance, and the SS3, the SS1 to 3, you want to focus more on technical training. Do you think people will bring their children there?
But by the arrangement, they were not. They were supposed to move them.
Because it's supposed to be a mixture. The idea is to get people to do both technical and formal training at that SS senior secondary level. And they do it, but we all know that the focus will be more on the formal training than the technical training, because like I said, it is demand driven. But again, government has done its own part by providing those schools all spread around the state, but people are not sending their children there. In fact, what we found out from study, from observation, is that people that send children, there are people that feel that, oh, my son is not good in formal training, in formal education. Maybe he was scoring lower than average when he was in JS school, and they feel that he may not do well. People that we call dullards never do well educationally are the ones we now push to those places, and most times these people go with an already damaged mindset, deflated mindset, and you now get there, you now have this feeling that is this place a school for dropouts and what have you, but that is not the idea. The idea is for people to get. But again, I'll mention something quickly. Like I mentioned Germany, I have a good relationship with the German Agency for International Development. What we found out is that in Germany, there is more emphasis on technical education than formal education. People leave secondary schools and go to technical schools and get what we call the dual vocational education and training. While they are doing the physical training, they are also working in a place where they get the practical, the real practical training. So what is happening now is going to be a gradual shift. It now depends on the demand sector, that is the people demanding labor, to say, no, we want people that can deliver, not just somebody that can speak good English. We want somebody that can deliver. What do you know how to do? Show us what you can do. And things are shifting towards that side. I can assure you that most of these software, hardware developers, computer developers, that they don't go to the university and they are commanding billions in payments, billions in earnings, and what have you. Some of them will tell you they don't need to go to the university. Again, the university is even is shifting from the physical class to the online class. The online education is growing by the day. So people things are changing. With time, things will change towards that, and the Nigerian economy will grow. I wanted to also look at it from the area of employment generation. You see,
but we'll still come to that. We'll have to take her on now. Ultimately, let's get to ultimate.
If I switch to her, can you bring us up to speed about, your experience as an entrepreneur? We all know that, yes, white-collar jobs could be very attractive, and for young ones, there's this fear of, how will I get the adequate fund, for my business? How will I prospect, customers? So, but how has it been, for you?
Okay, so let me start with the training that we do. So the training that we do, we have 3 categories. We have the crate, we have the start, and we have the skill. For someone like me, I'm in the crate section. We have business ideas, and we're like putting to picture what we want to bring to life. So basically, my business idea is to have a clothing line. So I already have those plan works already fixed. So when it comes to the financial access to finance and all of that, we have a course also that trains people on how to get finance and all of that. In fact, there are like several financial bodies that are willing to fund us. Like Oguncare just opened, the link is opening now. So like basically we as a training center, we give people access to financial institutions. Do you understand? So that's it.
Now,
Mr. Dada, let's look at the ecosystem now. It's one thing to acquire skill, it's another thing to have that platform, to develop that skill. So, but how's that process,
Yeah,
in Nigeria?
In Nigeria, it's a bit disjointed now, because but with the advent of digital communications, is getting better. It's getting better by the day. The ecosystem, like I said, is disjointed. People do not know where to go. There's no connection. Like she was saying, the interventions we are involved in now is how do we make everybody, all the players in the ecosystem, to interplay in such a way that there will be seamless development in that sector, especially the NMSME sector. Before, people call it the MSME sector, but it's no longer MSME. It's now we've added N, and the N there stands for nano. The nano entrepreneurs, the nano enterprises, those that are just maybe 1 man to 3 people working in an establishment before you go to the micro. So the ecosystem is there, but again, let me give you an example of what might have happened in the past that would call for a well-digitalized ecosystem platform. You have a situation where maybe accountants that should give you the audit, that should help you to audit your businesses. They look at you, they forget the fact that, look, this is a small, thriving business as compared to a big, maybe a medium business that they are working with. A small business will not be able to pay what a medium or big business will be able to pay. But then you have a situation where you just bring all of them together, and what happens? The person, the nano businessman, runs away from you because he feels you are too what? You are too expensive. Now, but that shouldn't stop the nano from interactions become a lot more than what we have now. The lawyer, for example, too, how do you look at the nano business owner and look at him in such a way that you can help him in developing his business? And it is in our interest in this country to develop that ecosystem. Okay. Why? Like I often say, 38 million businesses. Give a fraction of that, maybe 25% of that, the ability to do what? To develop and to employ more people. Just one person, 25% of 38 million is about 10 million. It's about 10 million. That means that you are employing about 10 million people at once into the labor market. So developing that sector, the NMSME sector, to move nano people to move to medium, to micro to small, small to medium. We'll do what? We'll develop the economic space generally. So that is the essence of that, of developing that ecosystem. The ecosystem plays in between that chain.
But how will you rate the support systems? I know we have the Bank of Industry, we have banks, calling on business owners to come and take loans.
Yeah, you see, like if you go to BOI today, Bank of Industry, they have a lot of interventions that many nano or micro businesses are not aware of. So the problem, like I said earlier, is that disjointed communication between operators in that sector and the ecosystem, or the disjointed ecosystem. So what we should be mindful of now is how do we get it in such a way that they all interplay. They all get to know the functions of, oh, you need a lawyer to do this. You need to get formalized. In fact, that is the first step. To operate in that ecosystem, formalization is key. Because when you are not formal, you are operating basically as, I will give you an example. Ogun State has about 1.3 million NMSMEs. That's nano, micro, small, medium enterprises. Over 1.3 million as of today. A growth of about 170,000 between 2017 and now. As of 2017, it was 1,173,000. Now it is 1,300,000 and something thousand. But out of that 1.3 million, only 47, or is it 43 million now? About 45 million, let me put it that way, are formal businesses. What does that mean? It is only out of 1.3 million businesses in Ogun State, it is only 45,000 of that, which is less than 3%, that can do what? That can operate effectively in that ecosystem.
Okay.
So what do we now need to do? We need that. The first thing to do is to get more business to become formal.
Okay.
You don't need any legal assistance if you are not formal in the first place. Who am I taking to court? Am I taking you to court? Okay. Am I taking your business to court? And it is in your own interest for your business to be separated from you as an entity. So how do we get more people operating in that scope, in that group? That's the formalized businesses, where we have just about 45,000 out of 1.3 million businesses in Ogun State.
Now, the question you want to ask, but before we get to that, let me take on Ultimate, and then we'll come to you about that. That question I will ask you immediately she finishes. Now, talent and skill. Is there an interplay? Is my talent my skill, or my skill my talent? Or can I develop my skill into a talent, or can I develop my talent into skill? How do you, we're talking about skill acquisition, can skills be acquired? Can skills be developed? And then how do you balance it with talent? Is your talent necessarily your skill? I hope I'm making a point. Then I'll come back to you after she answers that question.
Oh, okay. So, talent and skill. We can acquire skill. Okay. Most of the time, talent is something that I won't say God-given. Okay. So, but because you have a talent, doesn't mean like you are awesome at it. So you can develop your talent. Okay. I have a talent in drawing, but I work every day to learn how to draw. Not because I don't have the talent, but I have to work on the talent. And for skill, you can just pick a skill. Okay, I want to start learning how to make hair. That's a skill. I can develop the skill, learning, knowledge, right knowledge. So I think they are like interwoven.
That's the difference. Okay. Yes. Now let's now come back to you. You were talking about the NMSME, and is there a synergy? Because I'm not too sure the federal government is talking about the nano MSMEs.
Yeah, actually the information is from their organization. That's it was from the survey done by the SMIDAN and National Bureau of Statistics.
Okay, because the challenge of formalizing, some people would say the bottlenecks. You want to register your company. Maybe CAC has come closer to the people now, but then you still find out that it's a little cumbersome, and then some people will say, the moment you register you formalize your operations, then you are a target for IRS, and then you begin to have a battle. So all of those complex interplay, how do you wriggle out of it?
Yeah, that actually has a lot to do with what you said about the ecosystem. Okay. It is because of the ecosystem is not as developed as we want it to be. Okay. That's why we have that challenge. Okay. Now, many people are not aware that with just 14,000 naira, you can register your business with CAC. Yeah. Now, when they go and meet a lawyer with his big signboard outside his office, you walk into his office, you tell him, I want to register my business with CAC. He tells you to go and make 40,000 naira.
And he says it like doing you a favor.
Exactly. Exactly. He tells you to go and make 40,000. And that is why we said that ecosystem, because the man looks at you as a businessman. He has not differentiated you from the medium and large businesses. Okay. I can tell you something. There are some big businesses operating as small business. Okay. And the lawyers know this. So when you walk into a lawyer's place, it does not differentiate you. Okay. That you are a nano business. Yes. So, but now, what we are now trying to do with in the enterprise world now, what we're trying to do is to develop that ecosystem in such a way that even lawyers know where to play. Okay. Look, a lawyer that is waiting for one person to bring 40,000 naira to him may not be making as much money as a lawyer that identifies this special group of entrepreneurs and says, I want to deal with people that I'll just be charging 2,000 naira to
just
register their business, and maybe I'll be able to take at once 100 this thing too. So the challenge is still that ecosystem. Once that ecosystem is well developed, is well digitalized, is well publicized, there will be most of this problem that you are mentioning will reduce. The misconceptions especially. Some businesses, like you rightly said, have this misconception that once you are registered, tax people will start. But do you know that if you are making less than 25 million naira as turnover in Nigeria today, you don't pay tax to the federal government at least. Maybe you pay charges like every other person pays charges. People that make 100,000 naira in a year, they pay charges to state government, to local government, in their marketplace, in their shops. But if you are a business making 25 million naira, you are not expected to pay. That's turnover now, not profit. Turnover. You are doing a turnover of less than 25 million naira. You are not paying any.
But you pay your income tax. You pay your income
personal income tax. You should pay. You pay your personal income tax to the state. To the state. And we all know it is a lot easier and a lot more friendlier. It's a lot friendlier than any other forms of taxation. Just walk into OGIRS. I'm not here to speak for government because I have my own personal tax. And it was I started paying personal income tax well when I came to, and I saw the ease of just walking in, and they give you a card, and that is all. Nobody is here to speak on behalf of, but I'm just saying what people are not aware of. You go there, you tell them, this is what I'm making per month. I'm making 30,000 naira per month. You may be surprised that your personal income tax may not be more than 2,000 or 3,000 naira. So you pay it with ease. Nobody disturbs you. In future, you want to run for office.
That's right.
You show them that I've been paying my taxes. So, well, that is not just all. The issue still remains how we develop that ecosystem so that there won't be those misconceptions. There won't be those, and there won't be mischarges, there won't be misdefinition of nomenclatures and what have you. So that should be the focus as at now.
Okay. Well, Mr. Dada, skill acquisition in view of the nation's education policy. I think the impression is, formal education here is too formal, somewhat, and there's need to include, skill acquisition, vocational studies, and all that. But at what level should that be included? Primary, secondary, or tertiary?
You see, basically, what we have to compare ourselves with, we have to consider best practices elsewhere and find out what we are doing wrong in our own environment. Like she said, she has a talent. It becomes a skill when you develop your talent. When you go to school to say, this is what I want to start doing. I really love doing this and I want to develop it. A person that is talented in drawing is different from a person that is skilled in drawing. If you are to buy one of the two products, you look at the talent, you say, wow, beautiful, oh. You see that, you look at the skill, oh, this is what I want. You understand? You see the talent in the talented, but the skill will be the one that will be in high demand. So what do we mean by this? We need to develop a form of education where talents are observed and then developed. So now, at what time do we identify talents? And at what time do we start developing those talents? My own opinion, like I told you, I'm not an educationist. I'm not a formal educationist, I'm a trainer, is that maybe the primary school setting will be the process of identifying talents. Maybe the primary and the junior secondary school. Then where talents will now start to be developed will be at the senior secondary school level, which is what the system is all about. But you see, the problem with us now is that we are forcing people to do what they are not talented to do. I would have been an accountant if I followed what my father wanted me to do. Well, I later found out that I don't have any talent in accounting. I don't have any talent, and I don't have any. If I develop skill in accounting, maybe I can be a very, but I will not get any form of satisfaction from what I'm doing. But I'll just be making money from being an accountant. So what I can make money on, and also derive pleasure or satisfaction, is the talent I have, the skill that I developed the skill, and I'm now selling my skill. That gives me not just money, but also satisfaction in making that money. So developed countries, you find people, they will tell you, I have a friend in Nigeria, the daughter was abroad, and she came back home and said, I want to read archaeology. Archaeology.
Yeah, well,
at the end of the day, that is what the young lady wants to do. And then, and to God be the glory. The father supported us. Decided that is, and in future she will derive pleasure, and also when she has developed the skill, she will make her money from it.
Now, let's come to the federal government's skill acquisition program. Of course, they are partnering with MSMEs. How successful would you say that project has been? You know, they've gone into agriculture, they've gone into, you know, the focus on clothing, just to make sure that, okay, they partner. It's a project of the federal government. How would you assess that?
Yeah, you see, for me,
or is it just the normal Ziggy that people?
No, there's not. I will tell you that word. I will tackle this by giving you a very basic example around us. Government has a lot of programs for skill development. A lot, I can assure you of that. But like you said again, because of that ecosystem distortion, many people are not aware of these interventions. Many people are not aware. They are not aware basically because of two reasons. One is lack of expertise in getting information. You know, getting information involves expertise too. Sure. Many people don't know that. It involves expertise. They don't have expertise in getting information.
And then is government also giving his own information out well?
Yes. You see, I can pass my information out well to you. Depends on how you take the information. Depends on how you see, I'm talking based on experience. In fact, in some cases, you would have used all your might, your energy to explain, this is what we are doing, this is how we are going to do it, and all whatnot. Then, when you do, she does monitoring and evaluation. When you do your monitoring, you find out that people developed a wrong misconception, they got a wrong misconception of the program after you have spent all your energies trying to explain to them that this thing is this, is that, this is it, this is what not to expect, this is what to expect, but yet people will be expecting what not to expect and not expect what to expect.
But would it not mean that, because you see, when it comes to communication, you send and you receive, is it?
I'm coming to that, sir.
Okay. So I want you to just look at that, because sometimes you think you are communicating, but you are not communicating.
Exactly. And I will tackle that. You see, the problem, I wanted to go to the second reason for that, is the issue of mindset. So now, for me, where government may be involved now, may have some blame or may have some things to do, is in tackling mindsets. Yes, is in tackling mindsets. I gave you an example of where we went yesterday, an artisan meeting. A lot of them, over 200 of them, the commissioner came to meet us there to address them too. And the man stood up and said, I have been doing this for 46 years and they don't call me. I was the one, he said at the beginning, he was the one that did some road projects, some gutters and drainages. The guy is a welder. He was the one that did the welding, the whatever. And that, but now, they don't call in, they go to Lagos, they go to Ibadan, they go and I was just laughing where I was sitting.
Okay.
What is the problem there? The problem was the mindset of that man, thinking that he can just sit down because he has done a job in the past, and then people will naturally come to meet him because he was the one that did the gutter.
Okay.
You understand? That was the mindset. Okay. So what we are saying here is that the mindset, that mindset has to change, and they have to develop it in realizing that things are changing.
Okay.
I told all of them, some of them, about 10 or 20 of them were photographers. I say, all of you, the way I see you, you are my age mates. There are young people now doing wonders with camera that you cannot even do. And you are still there, depending on old glory. So mindset now, the mindset here now is the need for development. The need for development. A man that has the mindset to develop himself will perceive the right information. When you have the right mindset that I must develop myself, you will always get the right information. So where government needs to work on now, I don't know whether we have a national orientation agency. I don't know what they are doing. Okay. I don't know if Ogun State has an orientation agency. We need to work on the mindset of our people. We need to get them to understand fully the intentions of government for them and for everyone.
And I think to do that, that would take some elements of formalness in a way. So how can we now get to that level, even though
it depends on the operators of the...
It could be non-formal, but we still need some aspects of formal education to drive some point home.
It's not formal. You see, as a trainer, I often tell people, I also train trainers, that the way you relate, especially when you are doing what we call andragogy, that's training adults, the way you relate with them, don't take it formal. Train informally. Do you understand what? Train informally. A good trainer should be able to decipher that and say, look, we are not here to be. I tell trainers, when you are training adults, don't use slides. Use slides when you are training people like this, or university graduates. But when you are training artisans, you are training business owners, don't use slides. Let it be interactive. Let me give you an example. The sitting mode shows a lot. Don't let people sit as if they are in a meeting in rows. Let them sit round. Let them face themselves. You know why? Because non-formal education should come in an informal way. Because even the trainer does not know everything. The people that are being trained know some things more than the trainers. Some may know it and they are not practicalizing it, but just saying it and hearing other people say it will encourage them to practicalize it. You understand? So there's no, you see, when you bring formality into training business owners or training entrepreneurs, you'll be missing out. Some people get tired and say, is this what I came to do? Show them, if you're going to use a video, show them video. Show them role plays. Make them do dramas. Don't let it be boring. Let them see what you are talking about. Make it formal. Even the trainer, in the real sense of it, is just in class to coordinate activities. Because you'll be surprised. They will train themselves. They will talk to themselves. Ah, no, I used to do it like this. Oh, I know somebody that used to do it like this. Oh, and this is the effect. They give, what do they call it? Case studies. From their own real case studies. So, and they can relate. So the moment you formalize those type of training, you've lost. Don't formalize training. Make it informal. Okay.
Ultimate, as we round off now, because you represent the young ones, can you allay maybe their fears, regarding acquiring a skill?
Okay, so I would say one, the fear of the unknown, because it's a long process and we do not know what we would face or something. That's one. Secondly, I feel the youth now, some of us are actually concentrating on immediacy. Like we're looking for immediate profit. But when it comes to skill acquisition, it's a long-term thing. And we have to be patient to see the results. So that's one of our fear. Like, I need to wear the latest trend now. So starting a business now would not make me wear that. So it's a long-term thing. So that's one fear too. And also, like you spoke about nano entrepreneurs, I don't think there are so many financial institutions that would help support nano micro stuff yet. So I feel that those are our fears, like access to finance and all of that.
Can I address that?
But then, just before so we'll take your last words now, and she has also made one valid point that, which I also want you to put in the closing. And the fact that, okay, when you're talking about skill acquisitions, actually, we're looking in we're talking majorly about the youths, because there may be elderly people too now, mechanics. But the point is, some of those mechanics who had learned mechanics when it was, you know, when there were no injectors, you know, how would those ones improve their skills now, taking into consideration the time they learned, the process had overgrown them, and then if they have not grown with that process, would they still be relevant? And then, is there a future as a course?
You see, there's a big future in Nigeria for everybody, even the 70-year-old man in the village.
Okay.
The country is still a virgin land. A big future. We can multiply our economy by at least 5 within the next 5 years.
Okay.
We've identified that. Now, let me go to the issue of developing oneself, no matter the age. Okay. By the grace of God, I'm in my early 50s, and I remember when, at the age of 47, I dusted my certificate. I said, I'm going back to school.
Okay.
Why? Because I was going into the world of consultancy and training. Okay. Consulting and training are intellectual environment. And with an ordinary BSc, you can't operate. What did I do at 47? Okay, in fact, they had to insist I first do a PGD, postgraduate diploma. Okay. Initially, I was afraid I would be in class with 20-something-year-olds, and how would I look like their father in the class, and I felt a bit scared. But I took courage. I went to school. Thank God for where I am today. Okay. You understand? I have developed myself. I have made myself relevant. Okay. So, you see, like we said earlier, the problem resides in the mindset. The mindset to say that, am I not too old to do this? Okay. Why should I do this? Now, coming to the issue of nano, like what she said, because we need to address this for the benefit of the younger ones.
Quickly now, we have to.
I'll just run off with this. Yeah. I trained a young guy here in Abeokuta. Okay. And the first challenge he told me is how to raise money. I asked him, have you asked your mother? Okay. Have you asked your mother for the money? Okay. He said no, that the mother will not give
the money.
But sorry, I told him, I said, put this and this and this in place in your business, develop your business, then go and meet your mother. The mother gave him 1 million naira.
All right. So that means there is still hope, and we must not lose it all just because we have some frustrations or some initial problems. We want to thank our guests. We've tried to look at, analyze, the skill acquisition in view of Nigeria's education policy, and I think we've been able to do a little justice to that. We want to thank Mr. Olusegun Dada, human capacity developer and entrepreneur, Ifeloju Ultimate, for shedding more light on this. I think the bottom line is don't lose hope, keep hope alive, improve yourself, and the sky will be the limit for you. You're watching New Dawn. We'll take another break. When we come back,